used to stay at my granny's house. She was one of my favorite people in the entire world.
Jasmine, the people of Dallas deserve better than a fake ghetto hood rat.
Of Jazz Crockett has been exposed again. Believe it or not, Jazz Crockett does not need the assistance of Sarah Gonzalez from The Blaze to expose her as a complete fraud. As you're about to see here in a few minutes, Jazz is more than capable of exposing herself. Not only does she expose herself, Jazz Crockett revealed the illusion of the entire Democratic Party. You know, for decades, one of the reasons that professional wrestling was so effective, it's because of kayfabe, which is basically just another word for mystique. For decades, grown men in Speedos, they were able to keep the illusion that orchestrated fights were real. That punch to the face, ooh, that hurts. That suplex off the top rope, ooh, my ass is bruised. Even during the 90s, as technology was becoming more and more advanced, wrestling was still able to hold on to the illusion. And it wasn't just with the kids. There were adults buying into it too. Now, obviously, most rational-minded adults knew it was bullshit. They knew there was no way a grown man was punching someone in the face, and the only mark that he left behind was his lipstick on the other dude's cheek. But seriously, I remember when the NWO was in its infancy in the mid-90s. WCW, they were doing a live show outside. I think it was in Daytona Beach, Florida, maybe. Towards the end of the show, there was the typical brawl that you often see in wrestling. But because the NWO was invading WCW at the time, people living in Daytona Beach, they thought the fight was real. They actually called the cops, and as the show was ending on television, the cops were showing up to stop the fight. True story. True story. Now, obviously, that would never happen today. Everyone knows wrestling isn't real. Everyone knows that it's orchestrated. But back then, they were barely able to hold on to their mystique. Once the mystique was lost, it's impossible to get it back. Ironically enough, once the mystique was lost, the popularity of the WWF instantly declined. Well, Casey, that's not true. The WWE is mainstream today. They're creating huge stars. Yeah. That's why they continue relying on aging stars from past eras to carry the show. For decades, though, the Democrats have been able to maintain their mystique. The Democrats have been able to maintain their illusion, and their base has continued to buy into it. Think about it. Democrats are supposedly the party that supports black people. They're supposedly fighting the good fight against mythical racism. But then they advocate for illegal immigrants to enter the country, which lowers wages while raising rent and housing prices. Someone please explain to me how that helps black people. Hell, someone explain to me how that helps any American. Democrats are hardcore when it comes to welfare, which is essentially the modern version of being an indentured servant to the federal government. Democrats present the illusion of fighting the patriarchy. They teach women to be a boss. Girl, you don't need no man. You got perfectly good hands. 70% of black children grow up in a home without a father. White and Hispanic children, 20%. This is the illusion that Democrats have been selling for decades. Is it any wonder why people are struggling? For decades, minorities have been conditioned to believe that the Democrats have their back. Democrats are there for them, while Republicans are the party of billionaires. But recently, people have started to wake up. People have started to see that the Democratic platform isn't real. As it turns out, most black people have conservative values. And those aren't my words. That narrative came directly from Jasmine Crockett, as she not only exposed herself, she exposed the illusion of the entire Democratic Party. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about Sophie Cunningham criticizing the WNBA for protecting Paige Beckers. The WNBA is treating Paige Beckers like they should have been treating Caitlin Clark. They're treating Paige Beckers like a star, when the reality is, at least at this point of her career, Paige Beckers is a supporting cast member. We talk about it in detail, so click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Earlier this week, Jasmine Crockett was part of a panel at the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. Wait a minute. The African American Film Festival was in Martha's Vineyard? The same Martha's Vineyard that's located in Cape Cod? The same Martha's Vineyard whose population consists of 81% white and 3% black? Okay. Included on the panel with Jas Crockett was Reverend Al Sharpton, the lead reverend at Woke United Methodist, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and some bald lady named Leslie or Lester. With this being a film festival, I figured they would be talking about movies that were created and directed by black people. But imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise when I found out that the primary topic of conversation was Orange Man bad. Jas Crockett was trying to convince the audience that Donald Trump manipulates their emotions. She also claimed that black people can't vote for Republicans because conservatives are essentially the KKK. While trying to expose the Trumper, Jas Crockett unintentionally exposed herself and the Democratic Party. Watch it for yourself.
If and when you start to feel yourself getting emotional, because they knew how to specifically get at black folks' emotional triggers, specifically black people. And I talk to black folk all the time as somebody that's a child of a preacher. Listen, most black people are not Republicans simply because we just is like, y'all racist. I can't hang out with the KKK in them. That's really what it is. But when we think about who we are as black people and we think about where we come from, most black people have very conservative values. We just can't side with like the neo-Nazis in them. We not dealing with y'all like that, right? So anytime you feel yourself getting emotional or anytime you're talking to someone and it seems like they're emotional, I need you to step back and say, what am I missing? Because if I'm all riled up, there is something that they don't want me to pay attention to right now. That is what he did. He distracted so many people and he keeps us so busy.
This is the dumbest smart woman I've ever seen. Jas Crockett is educated, received her bachelor's degree from something called Rhodes College, which is a private college, received her law degree from the University of Houston, and to her credit, Jas is an excellent public speaker, but just because you're educated doesn't mean you're smart. Matter of fact, nowadays, students are no longer being educated in college, they're being indoctrinated. You heard Jas Crockett admit it. Most black people have conservative values. So how come they historically vote for Democrats? If Donald Trump is so manipulative, if Donald Trump is triggering their emotions like Jas claims, How come black people historically vote for Democrats? Maybe, just maybe, it's because Democrats have been using emotional manipulation for decades. You don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to him speak. Jazz Crockett is on stage telling a room full of black people that the Republican Party is racist. For decades, they have been told that the system is set up against them. Entire communities are turned against the police. Hell, look at what's happening right now with ICE agents. And look. It's not just black people that Democrats are trying to manipulate. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Over the last few years, who's been trying to convince children that they need gender-affirming care? Who's been trying to convince young women that men are allowed in their locker room? Right now, who is organizing communities against ICE agents? Who was responsible for fueling the flaming ass fire and the riots in the summer of 2020? The Democrats have become the party of chaos. The only thing they care about is power and control. What Jazz Crockett essentially did while describing the Trumper was describe the tactics of the Democratic Party. She unintentionally exposed her own movement. I think the reason the Democrats are increasing the rhetoric, I think the reason they're becoming more and more unhinged, Democrats know people are starting to wake up. Last month, their approval rating hit another record low. Their tactics are no longer working. Falsely accusing someone of mythical racism doesn't have the same impact. They have used mythical racism so much, it really no longer has any meaning. They still have control of the mainstream media, but the media doesn't have the same influence. Voters now have unlimited access to people who are willing to tell them the truth. Let me ask you something. What is the Democrats' platform? What are they trying to get done? They're trying to defeat the orange man. He's running again in 2028. He wants to be a dictator. He wants to be a king. Our democracy is at stake. Donnie's not running again in 2028. I know he teases it, but he does that because he knows it pisses people off, mainly the media. But outside of their constant fight with Donald Trump, what is their platform? They rarely explain it because they know it will be rejected. Jazz Crockett is the perfect face for the Democratic Party. She pretends to be from the streets while being raised in private schools. She often changes her vernacular to sound less intelligent when she's college educated. She pretends to fight for her people, while her own staff describes her as intolerable. Jazz Crockett claims to fight for black people, but she can't get black women to work for her. She posted a job opening recently. She sent the job to dozens of black women in Washington, D.C. Not one applied. Jazz Crockett is the ultimate illusion in a party whose foundation is built on an illusion. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.